Hello family, Lee here from TableTop Vase. Thanks for joining me. In this video, I thought we could hang out and I'll share with you a little bit about my journey with the plant. We all have our own relationship with the plant, right? That's why we're here. Let's face it, we probably wouldn't be here if we didn't. So I thought what I would do is I would just share with you at some of the stages and phases of my life what my relationship with the plant was and how it's evolved over the years. Sometimes it's a fun conversation to just see how somebody else has, related to the plant along the way. Some people have a short history and some people have a long history, right? So I'm personally one of those people. I have a bit of a long history. So I'm going to just share a few of the details about what that's worked like for me along the way and how I felt. And, now I'm lucky enough to be at the point where I get to dedicate my life to connection with the plant and all the things that surround it. What a blessed experience this is. So let me tell you a little bit about, sort of how I have felt about the plant and my relationship. So let's start with my first experience. Without going into too much detail about it, I was actually 10 years old. I was very young. It just happened to be one of those situations where a 10-year-old got real lucky being in the right place at the right time because somebody got stuck watching me that really didn't want to watch me, so they went ahead and had the party that they were going to have anyway. And I just happened to be in the right place at the right time and had my first experience with the plant. Very young, 10 years old. But I'll tell you, here's the thing about that particular experience. The details surrounding it don't really matter all that much. It's what it activated in me at a very, very young age. I was like, what is this? This is important. This is definitely important. I'm so happy to have this experience. And I was 10 years old. I mean, I'm not obviously thinking very deeply about too many things at 10 years old. Who is, right? But this just struck me and it sticks out in my head like one of those markers in your life of a point where you reach and then it's like, oh, that's a big point. Something changed right there. I became slightly different all of a sudden in this moment. And now when I move forward, I'm not ever going to be the same person again. And that's because I had that very first connection with the plant, and it really was a beautiful, harmonious experience for me at the time. It definitely was. I was in a childhood that included some definite extremes, maybe not good extremes all the time. So what ended up happening is after that activated, I learned within the next couple of years, I guess, of how to get my hands on it myself. Right. So, I mean, I was pretty young. I was about probably 12 years old when I figured out how to go to the arcade and who had the joints and how to get them and, how much do you have to pay and all that stuff. I got it all figured out by about 12 years old. And then it became part of a little bit of my life at that point in time. When you can go and get it yourself and all you have to do is figure out how to scrape together a few bucks. You can figure it out. If you want it bad enough, you'll figure it out, right? I was a pretty industrious kid. I would figure out ways to make a little bit of money here, a little bit of money there. And, it would feed the weed fund, if you will. So I could then get access to it whenever I wanted. And what I learned to do with it very, very quickly, in my teenage years, there were a lot of times where I would get locked into different thought processes and things like that from extremes of life where I would kind of get locked in these less than positive framework of thought in front of me in my mind, right? I would be stuck here and I'd need to get out of my head. But there was something before escapism that I figured out by embracing the plant the way I was, and I mean, I'm just a young kid smoking some joints, but when I was in those times, what I would do is I would smoke a joint and then I would focus right in on exactly every last thing I was feeling in my body and in my mind. And I would use it as a way to become single focused on, one experience that was happening, which allowed me to put up blocks around my thoughts, which kept out some of those other things that were cycling. And it would become a true pattern interrupt. And it wasn't necessarily about needing a whole lot because sometimes you would have 2 or 3 puffs and put it out so you could really stretch out one joint, right? You might want to light that 4 times or something. When you're that young, you can, because you only need a couple of puffs and you know, you're crackerjacked at that point. So, you know, I would focus in on exactly what was going on in every experience, you know, physically, mentally, all of it. And it was a really beautiful thing. And I learned, how to connect with the plant in that way. And it really expanded some things for me. And at times, I'll tell you what, it became like my very best friend at times, right? Like, all of a sudden now, when I needed an outlet, I needed relief, I needed a pattern interrupt, I knew where to go, I knew where to get it, and it was consistent. It proved itself every single time to work. So I'm like, this is unbelievable, because I was, you know, unable to really find the answer to break the patterns that were becoming difficult in my mind. But that did it. It worked every time. And I'm like, I had started actually considering the plant, like, I'm like, you're my best friend, dude. Like, and I would have these conversations with the plant, because I was just like, this is astounding to me how much different I feel. And, you know, it made me feel free compared to being locked into something I didn't want to be in, right? And it was organic, it worked. So, you know, I developed a very close relationship, I suppose, with the plant, you know, in my early teenage years, before I really truly discovered, you know, hard drugs and alcohol, and went absolutely apeshit crazy with all that stuff. I mean, I ended up in rehab at 15, obviously not from weed, but I mean, I went for it pretty hard there when I first discovered escapism in its truest form, right? That's exactly what it was. Hard drugs, alcohol, it was full escapism. And I became an escape artist. But you know what's funny? When I was in that time, the plant would be what started the night, and it would be what ended the night, right? And it would be all this chaos in the middle. But I don't know why, I would still anchor it on either side with that relationship with the plant. Somehow it made me feel safe while I was doing super reckless things. I eventually broke my way out of that. And decided, you know, maybe I might grow up and have a family. I might want to try that lifestyle versus, you know, what I was doing, addiction, all of that stuff that wasn't really working very well, and it wasn't going to lead me probably anywhere but death. So I thought it was probably time to get that all figured out, right? We should probably extract a chamber load here. I already have some SFV OG loaded up in this analog extraction device that I created a few years ago. It's an easy one to use. It's just a straight torch heat. Put a little bit of dry herb in there. It's already loaded up, and you know, you extract a couple of good rips and you're done. So let's fast forward to when I get off all the booze and the hard drugs, and I decided at that time I was going to give up weed too. This was the first time in my life it occurred to me that I should not connect with the plant. I was really thinking, you know, I'm going to get everything all cleaned up, get my life straight, I'm going to do it right. So it's what I did. It's exactly what I did. And I went 4 years absolutely dead nuts sober. No weed, not a beer, nothing. Like, dead nuts sober. 4 years, had a couple of kids. You know, I did the grow up. That's what I did. I did the grow up, and I realized there was something missing. It was the plant. I had thought about it. It was bothering me. I had gone a long time without it, and I'm like, this isn't about wanting to get messed up at this point in time. I'm missing something. Like, I actually feel the void here. So I decided, not for any reason other than it was what made sense for me. I decided it was time to rekindle the relationship with the plant, so I went ahead and I got some and I rekindled my relationship, and I'll tell you what, it was the first inhalation. After 4 years, the very first inhalation, and the first thought that went through my mind when it hit my chest and in my lungs, I thought to myself, I will never walk without you again. That is exactly what I thought once I took the plant deep into my lungs again after that 4-year time of total sobriety. And this was not about escapism. This was about something else. This was it was a very deep awakening for me in that moment. I knew that it was truth, and I knew it wasn't about escapism. I didn't understand it, and it made me a bit nervous because I had a history of addiction and some challenges. But somehow I'm like, no, this is still separate. This is a completely different deal. And for me, it was. And maybe not for everybody. Maybe not for everybody it would be. I'm not going to argue, whether it's a gateway or, if it will pull people with addiction problems back or if it's good or, everybody's their own individual. And I certainly was in my own way. And once I awakened that relationship again, I was like, yeah, this is it. This is going to be it. And truly, from that time forward, it has been actually, I haven't even questioned the relationship again. The only times I haven't had an opportunity to partake have been when I've been traveling or, I guess after I had the heart attack and was in the hospital there, and I came out, and there was a period of time where I couldn't do anything at all as far as taking any plant matter into my body that was going to do anything, because I wasn't yet at a point where my body was strong enough to, the fear was coughing, quite honestly. It wasn't actually what would happen if I was to inhale it. It was what would happen if I became irritated and coughed because my chest was such a mess. But then at a point I had to make a decision. I had to decide, how am I going to go through the healing process? Am I going to be plant focused or pharmaceutical drug focused? So I chose the plant path completely and totally. I kind of just let go of all of the pharmaceutical drugs, and I put my healing with the plant. I put that in the forefront and decided to walk the path that way. It felt right. It felt like I already knew what to do, even though I really didn't know what to do. And most people in my life thought I was absolutely insane after everything I had been through, to decide to put all of my faith in my relationship with the plant and my own knowledge of the plant and what could be done. Because truly, it was a different kind of knowing. So I just went ahead and I just walked the path. And I'm so glad I did. It's now we're a few years down the road, basically, 100% recovery. and my relationship is stronger now with the plant than ever. I've learned so much more about embracing myself, my relationship with the plant and the plant itself. It's really allowed me to grow and evolve in ways that I really didn't expect, and as time progresses and, now I'm lucky enough to dedicate my life to this, I expect to learn more and unlock more. And that was really a lot of why I wanted to open up this particular channel, so that we could talk deeper about these aspects, because I think we've all got a story and we've all got a relationship that is definitely worth celebrating. So do me a favor, drop yours in the comments, share some highlights, right? Like, I've gone through all these stages and phases, and there was really only that one period of time for 4 years where from 10 years old onward that the plant wasn't, basically a regular, almost daily part of my life. And it's something that I am so grateful for, and I feel blessed to have found at all. And I feel like that's why I was exposed at such a young age before any of the other clutter got in. It showed me what the path was going to be very early. And I feel like that was almost divine, quite honestly. But I guess we all have our own perceptions of these things, right? So I just thought I would share some of this with you and have an intimate conversation and ask you guys, share in the comments. Let's hear what you've got going on too. Let's hear how much you love the plant experience, how it connects with you. These are great things to share with one another. All right, my friends, thank you so much. Till next time, take care.